Good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California on a summer-like morning. It is truly beautiful. Lots of fun last night on Tackle Shop Confessions. Congratulations to all the winners. We lost our live feed a couple of times last night, but we did the raffle on our third live feed last night. And I want to thank everybody who participated. That was a lot of fun. Another great show with Sam De La Torre. We're going to cover the Bluefin tuna bite. We'll talk white Seabass. We're going to talk Mexico. We've got some nasty weather. If it manifests itself, headed our way for the weekend. That's a ways out there. We'll talk about that. And of course, we'll get you caught up about the surf and so much more. Stay tuned. The MB is coming at you. Pacific Queen returned to Fisherman's Landing from a day-and-a-half trip with a great catch, limits of bluefin tuna, and 77 yellowtail. Guy Stratton and his wife were on this trip, and Guy's wife caught her very first bluefin. In fact, it was her first bluefin tuna fishing trip. Congratulations on this great catch. Guy says the crew were so patient and helped her so much. I wish I had a name for her, but we'll call her Guy Stratton's wife. Great catch. And if that garage door is giving you a problem, then you're going to want to call your garage door man. That's Joe Welker. Tax problems? Nobody better than our friend Tim Marquez. Tim's been doing taxes for 35 years. Give the tax man a call today. And for your heating and or air conditioning needs, you're going to want to talk to our dear friend John Lopez at Efficient Heating and Air Conditioning. Hey, it is great to be with you all again. Man, is it beautiful here this morning. It feels like summertime right now. If you don't mind, hit that like button, share these videos with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe to the Freedman Adventures YouTube channel and tick that little bell. You'll be notified when there's new content. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You know what time it is. It is time for the morning briefing on a beautifully glorious morning. Good morning, my friends. Man, is that good or what? And is it great to be back with you all again? We had a couple of great live shows yesterday. The Danny Cadota show was absolutely fantastic as I walked down to put my toes in the water to see how it is feeling here today. I'll give you a look at it here in just a moment. Great show with Danny, and then Tackle Shop Confessions. We had a big giveaway on Tackle Shop Confessions last night. I want to thank everybody who participated. Apologize that our live feed stalled out on us 2 times, actually. So on the third one, we actually did the raffle, and that was a lot of fun. Let me feel this. Water's warming up again. It feels a little bit warmer. However, in the springtime, like right now, obviously, we sometimes will take 2 steps forward, like it feels like to me right now, and then we'll take a couple of steps backwards. And we may do that when we get this wind that is headed our way. Let me show you this water here. There you go. And we'll go, whoa, walking out into this just for a moment, just to show you all. Yeah, beautiful conditions for the surf. Looks like it could really turn on. Let's talk about Mexico and start things off right there. The waters are starting to warm down in southern Baja California around Cabo San Lucas. That water's starting to warm, and that's going to bring in new and different species like more striped marlin, more yellowfin tuna, a lot of sierras along the beach, and some nice big rooster fish starting to show up in there. Also, there's good yellowtail still continuing in Loreto, in La Paz. Starting to warm up there in La Paz, however. That yellowtail will get out of that warm water at some point in time. More roosters in La Paz as well as Loreto. Starting to see some of that in Santa Rosalia and Mulaje. Also have continued good yellowtail fishing. That should go on for most of April, which is just a few more days. And then when we get into May, that water may start to warm up a little bit too much as we get you to San Quintin, right outside of there. Now, we're only talking 140 miles down below the border. We see bluefin tuna down there, and it seems like the bigger grade, like a lot of 100-plus pounders. We certainly saw that ourselves on board the Independence on our 5-day trip. Incidentally, the first day of our 5-day video dropped yesterday. Check it out. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. I think you're going to enjoy it. You'll get to meet the crew. You'll get to see a few smaller grade kelp paddy yellowtail caught, and you'll see some of our first night's bluefin tuna fishing. What a great trip that was. We've seen some of that bigger fish down there. There's also some occasional good yellowtail action going on down there in the San Quintin area. Up in Ensenada, there's some bluefin starting to show up right there. We're seeing more and more BFT start to show up in that neck of the woods, and that is great news. It still is far from anything really consistent. We don't see any big numbers being taken. There's been occasional fish taken by some of the pongeros down there in that area. There's a little bit of yellowtail action, not much. It's been mostly rockfish, and that really is the name of the game still right now. So we're seeing quite a bit of the rockfish. Nothing wrong with any of that down in Mexico Lindo. Don't forget the Island Spirit, Ventura Sportfishing. They are running their great halibut trip on Wednesday. Captain Daniel Hadaway on the Island Spirit out of Ventura is going to focus only on halibut on Wednesdays, and this Wednesday he is going for it. Give Ventura a call at 805-676-3474. Visit him at venturasportfishing.com. All right, let's talk about what's going on with our bluefin tuna. A little bit more hit and miss right now. Now, I mentioned some weather. We're a ways away from the weekend, but it looks like Saturday and Sunday could be unfishable if the weather forecast that we see out there manifests itself. Now, I'm telling you, it's a ways out there. We get to Wednesday, we get to Thursday in there, then we'll have a better idea. But it looks like that weather's going to hold, and it's going to be quite nasty. I'm just letting you know that for the weekend as we continue to monitor that for you very, very closely. Bluefin tuna fishing, a little bit more hit and miss, as I have been telling you. You know, on the Polaris Supreme, they had 17 fish over 100 pounds. So it's not only those 20, 30-pound bluefin tuna, those 40, 50-pounders. We're starting to see a lot more 100-pounders and some fish to over 200 pounds in some cases. The Legend on their very first trip of the year this year ended up catching and slamming out a great catch of limits of bluefin tuna with 100 bluefin tuna. Not a darn thing wrong with that kind of fishing. That is some good stuff. And as we mentioned, the Pacific Queen on a 2-day trip, 29 guys, 67 bluefin tuna. I did hear some misses, however, last night, so it's a little bit more mixed right now. That fish, the bluefin tuna, is really squirrely. It's moving around a lot. In fact, we caught that bluefin tuna on our 5-day trip in one location, and the very next day, in fact, in just a matter of a few hours, it had moved 25 miles. So this fish is moving a lot. The boys are trying to stay on top of it, and they do a great job down there in San Diego. You want to fish that daytime fish. If you're on that 30, 40, 50-pound bluefin tuna, you want to have to fish it with some lighter line. You want to fish it with as heavy as is possible. But to get a bite, sometimes you got to drop down to 25, 30-pound fluorocarbon. Choose a really good hot bait, and also a small hook like a blacktail number 6 hook works really, really well. That's the only way you're going to get a bite sometimes. Now, if you're seeing straight big fish, you're really silly to fish the light stuff. You shouldn't be fly lining with anything less than 60 pound. You shouldn't be sinker rig fishing with anything less than 80 pounder. And of course, when you're night fishing, 100 pound minimum when you're fishing with the jigs at night. Now, this nighttime fishing is going to depend on wind and current, how heavy a jig you use. Basically, it's been like 250 to 400 grams lately. That seems to be working best of all. The Eddie Bomb has been a fantastic jig. I don't care if it's painted or not painted. That has been really, really good. But Jeff Lingle, who's a really great captain, has been telling us that when you get slack conditions or you're in much shallower water, or you're in deep water, but the fish are in shallower water, that's when you might go to a knife jig or a flat fall. That has been the time to switch over to those jigs. So there you have it. Our bluefin tuna bite, a little bit more hit and miss here recently. The San Diego fishing offshore out of C4 Sport Fishing in San Diego yesterday. They ended up with a nice little hit for the guys on board. They had 20 bonito for 22 guys, and they also had 11 kelp paddy yellowtail, some more and more yellows. San Diego who runs those full day trips. So they leave in the early morning hours and then they come back later that evening. They've been seeing bluefin tuna. It's not going to be too much longer. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they caught one or two or several here in the next few days. They're seeing it. It just hasn't settled quite yet to bite. We'll keep our eyes on that for you very, very closely. The Coronado Islands, continued cold water there. A few yellowtail for a few of the pongeros out of Popotla, which is right down below Rosarito Beach. I stay in contact with Carlos Cortez from Cortez Sportfishing and many of the other guys who run out of there. They've seen a little bit of yellowtail, but overall, rockfish has been the name of the game. All right, we get you up here into Southern California, and we continue to see a lot of rockfish sculpin on our local waters. Again, the water's been cooler now. We are out of the La Nina right now, which is a cold water oceanographic condition. We're out of that. We're into a neutral condition, and the water is starting to warm up. You know, Mad Dog, Anthony, does a lot of our camera work, does such a great job, was telling me that the water felt much warmer to him here yesterday, and I concur. It feels much warmer, but we are catching predominantly rockfish. That is not to say you don't have a chance at a few bass here and there, you know, some twilight bass out of Marina del Rey. You see a little bit of bass down there around Dana Wharf, but nothing really to write home about. Rockfish is the staple. Having said that, also, however, we're starting to see even a little bit of barracuda down around Todos Santos Island off of Ensenada. We've seen a spot or two of that. And of course, we need to talk about white sea bass up there in the Channel Islands because we're seeing copious amounts of WSB up there. Every once in a while, we get a full speed, great bite on it. The Endeavor's been doing great. In fact, halibut man Mitchell is on board the Endeavor out of Ventura Sportfishing right now as we speak. So we'll see how he does. We got our fingers crossed that Mitchell, halibut man, has a really great day up there. There's been some dropper loop fish. There's been a lot of that run and gun type fishing with the, you know, a Carolina rig kind of thing. And those white flukes have also been very, very effective and great rock fishing throughout the Channel Island area and surrounding beaches. It's been really, really good out there at the islands for some great rock fishing. So you can always count on that. And you got to think that a white sea bass bite, and they've had some good hits already this year, but you got to think a consistent bite where several boats are engaged is imminent because you see so much of it. That squid that's been in our environment for months now has attracted all of that fish in here, and that is fantastic news. So I think that is definitely in our future. We'll keep watching that for you very closely. San Francisco area, got to take you up there just to mention that the halibut and striper fishing has been fantastic. It's been really, really good as we continue to see really great fishing with regard to that. Lovely Martha Sport Fishing and several other operators up there have been doing really, really well. You know, see how deep this water is where I'm at right now? You can see that. You'll have Corvina during the season bump into your legs. You're making a cast out there with a chrome crocodile, for example. You go down to Big Fish Bait and Tackle, get your bait, or you're throwing a chrome crocodile. In the water I'm standing in right now, as you can see, you'll have fish bump into your legs. That's how shallow surf fish get. I just had to mention that, being that I'm standing in the water right now, and I wanted to point that out to you. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into our surf fishing report. The El Patron had their sea trials. I have not heard what the verdict is, but they should be running quickly out of Long Beach Sport Fishing, www.longbeachsportfishing.org. El Patron will be running that morning trip to Catalina Island, which is out there shrouded in that haze here this morning, but they'll be doing that very, very soon, and that is a great run. It is like summertime here this morning. It's absolutely beautiful. It belies that windy weather that we have out there in the future, perhaps this weekend. We'll see if that definitely is going to manifest itself or not. So again, we see some really good rock fishing, occasional white sea bass hits, pretty darn good sculping. You know, boats like the Monte Carlo out of 22nd Street Landing, the half-day boat, beautiful boat, by the way, great crew, and they go out and catch reds, vermilion, rockfish, they catch sculpin. It's been pretty darn good. There's been some good sheephead and whitefish also up in the Channel Islands. In the Southern California surf, you got to think that this warm water is going to continue to produce more and more warmer water species, yellowfin croaker, spotfin croaker. You're going to see more halibut coming in to our beaches here. Corbina, we've talked about that. There's still perch, walleye perch, bar perch. There's been some really good fishing. It has not, however, been consistent. When this beach turns on, or down there around Bolsa Chica, or up there in the Santa Monica Bay, man, it is good. And it rocks when it's biting, where you can come down here and catch 20 fish. Right now, you know, one day you'll come down and catch 4 or 5 fish, and another day you won't do so well. Anthony, as I mentioned just a moment ago, has been down here hitting this. Yesterday, slow fishing. A few days ago, before we had some wind down here in this area, man, he was catching halibut, he was catching yellowfin croaker, he was catching perch. It was really good. All kinds of rays, like butterfly rays and so many other species that were entertaining him in the surf. It was pretty darn good. We're starting to come out of when you need to fish bait. You can still fish bait in the spring and summer, and you'll do really, really well. It's just that in the wintertime, it's almost mandatory that you fish bait. Now you can get to your artificials, lucky crabs, chrome crocodiles, Castmasters, and do really well on a variety of different species while throwing that. You can get all that, including your bait, your tackle, and so much more at Big Fish Bait and Tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach, California, about a 15-minute walk from me. Here it's on the corner of Seal Beach Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway. Check them out. They give away a free custom surf fishing rod every single month. To be involved in that tournament, all you got to do is walk in there, buy the ruler, and you're automatically in after that every single month. Speaking of great surf fishing news, the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club. Hey, there's the QR code for you. They've got a great surf fishing tournament coming up. It's going to be fantastic. There's great prizes. It's a week long. There's a great banquet. At the end of it, you get to hang out with Chuck Zimmer and the guys from the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club, and I'll be there too with Anthony and so many other Friedman Adventure family members, probably like Michael Limon and Dan Lightfoot, and who knows who else might show up. Really great tournament on the horizon. Highly recommend you jump in and enjoy the Southern California surf. You know, we're so blessed to have this. The fishing can be so good. You get some steps in, you get some vitamin D, and you get to come out here and fish for a really good price. I don't know how on earth you can beat that. All right, my friends, we're going to continue to watch it for you very, very closely. I'll be keeping my eyes on the bluefin bite during the daytime today, the white sea bass bite also, and of course I'm going to be watching that weather that looks like it looming out there for the weekend. It could get kind of nasty, and if it does show up the way they're predicting it's going to show up, it'll be unfishable offshore. It looks like that would be the case. We'll watch it closely for you all. I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you for your participation in Tackle Shop Confessions and the Danny Cadoto Show. Check out that video that we dropped on the Independence, our first of 5 days. That is up right now. It's on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, I'll keep you in touch with everything that is going on. Always a pleasure. Thanks for checking in. And as always, I hope to see you really, really soon.